Originally, this was supposed to be a fun and creative Halloween episode, but I'm not in such high spirits after playing Parasite Eve II. Originally released in North America September 12th, 2000. The first game, to my surprise, I adored, and then the second game, man, I was crushed. 3 years have passed since the events of Parasite Eve. Our hero, Aya Brea, begins the game reminiscing while training. You are part of MIST, Mitochondria Investigation and Suppression Team, a branch of the FBI, specializing in hunting NMCs, neo-mitochondrial creatures. They fled from New York and headed west, so now she's stationed in Los Angeles. Which is weird because the game takes place in Nevada, but whatever. Upon fighting a creature called Number 9, you find a lead that directs you to a motel in a desert. I kid you not, the first disc is just exploring this motel. Very little story happens here. In fact, only one story-related cutscene happens here. And that's part of my problem. The first Parasite Eve, the story took off instantly. Every location Aya visited was with purpose. Each step Aya took was toward the capture of Eve. Here, it felt like unnecessary bloat. Go here, fill the tank. The keys are on the other side of wherever the hell we are. Get a rope. Try to get the tools. Get permission to get the tools. Then get the tools. It's a crap ton of backtracking. Anywho, aside from that, I actually liked the story, or at least it had an interesting premise. An organization, Aya somehow being involved, and I like that there's a clear evolution in her personality. The first game she was a rookie cop, and in this one she carries an air of experience. But even so, there was a lot of narrative to be desired. I think new characters were underutilized, certain reveals were not impactful in the slightest, and they were done off camera, and the organization that you're uncovering doesn't even have a name. It felt very vague a lot of the time, like an outline almost, not fully developed. And speaking of vague, let's talk about obscurity of getting the true ending. I got the bad ending, then the true, and wow, you miss a lot. It was hard for me to fully appreciate the story because of the atrocious gameplay. That is literally what killed this game for me. We're going to address the first thing you'll notice. One of the most important mechanics in gameplay, the movement. Tank controls. If you're a dumb fuck like me and thought, oh, Reinhardt plays just fine, what do you mean? Let me tell ya, it means you control like a fucking tank. Forward, backward, if you want to turn, you turn slowly, then you can move in that direction. I was at odds at the style of movement the entire game. This is my first tank control game, and many say this plays like a knockoff Resident Evil game. I wouldn't know. If you're new here, I'm a huge chicken shit, and you can pay me enough to play those. I'm kidding, you could totally buy me for the low cost of $1 million. Funny enough, Parasite Eve II did have a bit of a development switch up, which is the reason for its Resident Evil-like playstyle. The director, Kenichi Iwao, worked on Resident Evil. The production team was all new. The designer quit halfway, and they had to bring back Tetsuya Nomura. And Parasite Eve II was also meant to be a spin-off starring Kyle, who was changed as a side character. Knowing that it was meant to be a side game makes a lot of sense for the drastic changes that they made, but I still wasn't feeling it. In any case, I'm telling you, if you're not used to tank controls, this game is a pure uphill fucking battle. That is the main complaint. Everything else shies in comparison, and this is probably just a me thing because everyone seems to love Resident Evil 2. Parasite Eve 2 plays nothing like its predecessor. It amps up the survival horror at the cost of JRPG elements. There is no active time battle system. When you enter a new area, you can see the enemies, choose to engage, move into position, or evade. You move, target, and attack in real time. Enemies are tough. Some can knock Aya back into a new camera angle, disorienting the player, status effects, and some of these guys come in packs. And to my surprise, I really enjoyed most of the boss fights in this game. We got some very unique scenarios, to say the least. Parasite energy, aka your magic, works completely different as well. You have MP, which you can cast a spell with. Spells take time to go off, so beware as enemies can interrupt you. You can see a frame outlining where spells will hit, and it's a nice visual callback to the first game. Levels are also gone. It's no longer an RPG, but a survival horror with some RPG elements. The only way levels are present is through your spells. After every match, you're awarded MP, BP, which are bounty points, or currency used to buy weapons and items, and experience points to spend on your spells. Each spell can be upgraded to level 3, and when both spells are maxed out, a third spell will become available. Now, this is cool, except some spells were way too costly for what they did. Healing, unfortunately, is the biggest crime here. Without items, you don't have a huge MP pool, and healing at level 1, 2, and 3 costs 12 MP, and the healing isn't great. And to be honest, you don't need every spell in the game. Items are also incredibly important. Guns, and more importantly, the ammo, which houses the damage stat. Stock up on ammo because holy shit, you burn through it. Enemies are like damage sponges. Armor also gives you resistance, raises defense, and also decides your attachment slots, what you can access during combat. You can carry a decent amount of things, but what is attached is the only thing that's accessible in battle. You need a health potion but forgot to attach it? Well, you're fucked. You can always flee battle, taking a very light penalty of -10 BP. Totally worth it. Continuing with my long list of grievances I have with Parasite Eve II is it is obscure for no reason. A lot of good items are hidden behind riddles, and my god, if you do not explore, it is so easy to miss items and clues. An example of this is if you don't look out a window at night, you miss information to unlock a gate. What the fuck does looking out a window have to do with the gate code? Beats fucking me. I got a bad ending because I didn't do this in time. It's fucking ridiculous. My advice is you better press X against everything. And it's not only riddles and items, but just how to generally play the fucking game. Not once does Parasite Eve II mention leveling up Parasite Energy refills your MP. There are boxes of unlimited ammo by your car. Press triangle to inspect items. In fact, some of the items you inspect still won't tell you what the fuck they do. Just attach it and see what happens. And although holy water raises your defense, there's no visual or audible difference. Now, if you manage to beat the game, there is some value in replaying. It has several different modes. Scavenger makes items more expensive and less drops. Some modes, enemies are harder, Aya has half health, etc, etc. Now, I do like the mapping a lot. It's very easy to get an idea of the lay of the land. You can see where you are, what direction you're facing. There are two main maps, the motel and the bunker. Red rooms on the map means enemies are lurking there, kill them if you want. And after an event, usually the map will turn red again. Although let me be clear, sometimes the map doesn't always turn red when there's an enemy, so you know, keep an eye out. You can see telephones, which are save points, and man, that was a throwback. Like, what the hell are save points in 2020? And there are boxes, which allows you to store things that you're not using. Our next segment brings us to the graphics, and for only coming out a year later, I thought there was a major upgrade. Aya and friends look a lot more detailed, pre-rendered backgrounds are still poppin'. I do think the first game was more interesting to look at. Unfortunately, Parasite Eve II didn't really grab your interest save for a few parts, whereas the first game you're at a zoo, amphitheater, backstage, museum, sewers, hospital. In the second game, there are a few areas in the motel that look interesting and a few areas in the bunker. However, I will say that the new atmosphere absolutely lended itself to uneasy vibes. I believe being in a closed space really enhanced my fear. A lot of the hallways you had to turn the corner so you didn't know what was waiting for you. Oftentimes I didn't even see what I was shooting at. I was too afraid to move forward, honestly, which can also create a problem because you don't know entirely what you're fighting and what's coming your way. And of course, we could not talk about Parasite Eve II without mentioning its CGI cutscenes, which, okay, they looked good, yes, but even they missed the mark. If you watched all Parasite Eve 1 cutscenes versus 2, the first one is significantly more gruesome. As someone who loves gore but hates horror, Parasite Eve 1 nailed it. All the monstrous transformations, the breakdown of flesh, that was one of the key elements that made Parasite Eve, well, Parasite Eve. In the second game, there is a major lack of malformed transformations. I never felt like I was looking at something incredibly weird. This is an excellent segue into the music, another key element that Parasite Eve II completely missed. It's funny because the first game had background music, and it wasn't a lot, but enough to notice it was there. Parasite Eve II has ambient music. It's quiet, at night you only hear your footsteps and crickets chirping, and frankly, it was strangely low, like you didn't even notice it. Even the battle music was such a step down from Arise Within You. And maybe I'm talking shit because I haven't played a lot of horror games, but I would truly argue that the music of Parasite Eve is one of the major reasons Parasite Eve stood out to any other horror game. Yoko Shimomura's absence was absolutely felt in the sequel, and it's a damn shame because the best songs in Parasite Eve 2 are remixes of the first game, the intro and Mist HQ. And maybe you hear a few riffs of Shimomura's work scattered throughout, but that's it. Parasite Eve 2, 6.5 out of 10. This is really irritating, right? Because Parasite Eve 2 jumped on to the Resident Evil hype and pretty much lost everything that made it special. Grotesque cutscenes, unforgettable music, customizing weapons, various locations, and kind of a grander scale. In Parasite Eve 1, we're in New York City and we felt the presence of Eve. Then Parasite Eve 2, we moved to bumfuck Nevada. And the gameplay, good lord, is such a departure from the original, mainly tank controls. And even if you like tank controls, I hear through the grapevine that it's still a knockoff, cheaper, Walmart brand Resident Evil clone. And plus there's the backtracking and the obscurity and listen, Parasite Eve 2 I don't think is a bad game, but it is a bad sequel. Thank you so much for watching. Top box for more videos like this. Bottom box is my Let's Play channel, and don't forget to check out my Patreon. For $1, you're in the Discord. You can hang out, join our Among Us parties. Thank you all for watching. Happy Halloween. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video. Mwah. Just a quick update for you guys. Sometime early next year, your girl needs a break. I have been playing some either average, subpar, to just bad games lately, and it's honestly making this a lot less fun. Parasite Eve 2, I didn't like Ys 8, I didn't care for Wild Arms 2, I didn't like Spirit Tracks, hell sure didn't like Final Fantasy 8. I'm kind of getting drained, so every year I should take a month off to recharge, and I didn't this year, and I don't think I did last year either, so I need to do that. I might take 2 months off in 2021, so if you guys don't hear from me, I'll be active on my socials. I'm just not making any videos, I'm not playing any games, I'm taking me time. I do plan on closing this year out strong, but next year, I'm focusing on me. Hope you understand, and as always, thanks for watching. Mwah.